Hello, my name is Barbara Naclerio. I'm the health educator at the East Shore District Health Department, and this is Hot Topics from the North Branford Senior Center. Today we're going to discuss how to survive the pandemic in both a physical way and a spiritual way and an energy way. And our talk is called Worried But Well. Our first part, I wanted to update people on what was happening in the pandemic from beginning to end. In January of 2020, we had heard about it in China and in other countries. By February, there were a few cases in New York, but nothing in Connecticut. But we had started to put restrictions in because we were concerned about the pandemic. By March 8th was the first case in Connecticut, but by the end of March, we had over 3,000 cases, 608 hospitalizations, and 69 deaths. That's just in our state. By April, at the end of April, we had over 27,000 cases, 1,600 hospitalizations, and over 2,000 deaths. In May, it jumped to 42,000 cases, 454 hospitalizations in May, and nearly 4,000 deaths. By then, we had been staying home for a month and staying safe. And at that point, we decided in June, the cases had jumped much lower, and we had 100 hospitalizations and probably about 400 deaths. And in reality, the staying home and staying isolated worked, and that's when the state started to open things up. So I wanted to kind of give you an overview of what's going on right now in our state. We have had, in June, 46 cases in Branford, East Haven, and North Branford put together. In July, another 46 cases. In August, 28 cases. And in September, 42 cases. So as you can see, it really died down, the amount of cases that we were having in our district. And the fatalities went down to 0 in June and July and August. And just September, we have gotten one more case. We need to stay vigilant because as the summer ends, people will be indoors more. School has started. People are getting a little more relaxed. But we shouldn't worry. We shouldn't be too focused on the fact that things are getting better. We should still try to protect ourselves. So what I'm going to talk about today is how COVID-19 has affected us in social ways, nutritional ways, physical ways, mental, spiritual, and environmental ways. Obviously, one of the biggest problems with what we have been doing is the social aspect. People aren't around other people. You can't go out to dinner with your friends. You can't see your immediate family if they have kids and the kids are in school. It makes it for a much tougher environment. So we have found ways to interact and see each other, even though we're not face-to-face. We do virtual visits, so either on FaceTime or Zoom. We're used to suddenly seeing each other on camera, something like 9 months ago, we never did. A lot of people never even used this technology before. And we're also finding in community groups and faith-based groups that you can do things like go to a faith-based service online instead of being actually at a facility with a lot of other people indoors where there could possibly be a spread of COVID-19. There are online book clubs, lunch meetings, and volunteer opportunities. So these are all ways that you can still stay social. But what about when you need to go out? So doctor's offices and dentist's offices, those appointments you really need to go to, many of them have turned virtual. So you can bring up your doctor on your phone or on your iPad or on your computer and talk to them by computer so you're not face to face with them. But if you have to go to the doctor's office, it's imperative that you know what the office expects. So what time are you supposed to show up for your appointment? Are they letting people wait in the waiting room, or do you have to wait in your car? There's a lot of different ways that people are dealing with this, and it's important. If you're going to go to the doctor's office, you need to know how they run things. Also, if you have an emergency, okay, say you're getting sick and you think, uh-oh, I might have COVID-19. You need to call the doctor's office first, or call the urgent care, or call the emergency room first and say, I think I'm sick with this, so that you're not bursting into a waiting room full of people with symptoms and possibly spreading it to other people. Another thing we have to be concerned about is our nutrition. Many times we've been going to the grocery store, we have new rules. You have to go down one way down aisles. You have less to choose from in some areas because certain industries have been reduced from COVID-19 or haven't made enough money to put out enough product. So you may not find the paper towels. You may not find certain cleaning products. You might not find some products that you think have nothing to do with COVID-19. But along those supply chains, there might be things that get in the way. So you have to think in your head, how can I get beyond this? How can I think of something else to get instead of my normal? You also need to make sure, for nutrition's sake, you're drinking plenty of water. Water's really important. It has been shown people have had symptoms of dementia because they don't drink enough water. People have had moments where they have muscle cramps or they're really tired because they just need a drink of water. And for people who are older especially, those signals from the brain that tell us whether we are thirsty or not are not as clear as they were when we were younger. So we almost have to remind ourselves to drink water on a regular basis. And we need to eat a balanced diet. And when everything else in our life feels so out of control, we can control what we buy at the grocery store. And keep in mind, your body needs to be in balance with a well-prepared grocery list. And on our next slide, we'll have some information about that. I've found through many studies that are going on that people are having cravings for certain foods during the pandemic because they're stressed. I'll give you an example. My husband suddenly wants these box cereals that he had as a child. And it's not that suddenly he's reverting to a worse diet, but he wants that comfort food, that food that he had had as a child. And it's totally normal to have these cravings. One way to stay nutritious and still have those cravings is find ways to have it, but have it in a more nutritious balance. So instead of just having a lot of boxed cereal, maybe have some boxed cereal and some eggs, or some boxed cereal and some vegetables, something to balance that craving and that need for that comfort food. And it isn't just foods that we eat that are nutritious. Other areas of our life provide nourishment, like relationships, creativity, physical activity, and other things. So when you go to the grocery store, make sure you create a well-crafted grocery list. Have your essential items. Have your vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds, condiments, and spices. And always remember, if you're afraid to go to the grocery store or if you've had unpleasant experiences, there are other ways to get your groceries. There's online services that will do the grocery shopping for you. There's ways you can order the food, and park in the parking lot, and a person from the store will come out and put the groceries in your car. And that will reduce your risk of being around other people. Think of healthy daytime snacks that you can have. Crunchy things, apples, veggies with hummus, plain popcorn. Think of sweet things you might have. Organic yogurt with fruit, dried fruit, smoothies. Creamy things, avocados, rice, chia seed pudding, soups. And some of these things you probably have never tried, but this is a time when you can try them. You have a little more time on your hands because you're not going out and you're not so busy. And you can try some different kinds of foods that are out there. Salty things, olives, pickles, kale, seaweed chips. So there's different ways you can have all the things you want but still stay nutritious. And one thing you can do is think about your breakfast. Do you have the same breakfast every morning? And maybe you want to mix it up. There's an idea out there that you can have, like on this list, there's seven days of different breakfasts, and have a different breakfast every day. And write down, how does that breakfast make you feel? How much energy do you have? How long is it till your next meal that you're hungry again? Does it make you crave sweet things, or are you full and satisfied for the morning? Different things are going to work for different people, obviously. And when you think of groceries, make sure you think about your physical condition. Your body is yours, nobody else's. You have a health profile nobody else has. So you come from a family, you have certain genetics, you have certain diseases that are prevalent in your genetic history. You also have things you like and dislike. You have to balance those things to find what works for you. If you have high blood pressure, you might not want to be going for the salty snacks like the peanuts and the chips and pretzels, or even some of the things that are obviously healthy like soups. You may want to go for a lower salt soup because you have high blood pressure. So you have to think about your own health when it comes to trying different foods. And we had talked about cravings a little bit, and these are different factors that can be involved in cravings. There's a food-mood connection. Your mood and your emotions definitely affect what you crave. Some people, when they're tired and upset, and they just want something sweet. And that may be you, that may not be you. Sometimes when you don't drink enough water, you start craving foods, but really you're thirsty. Eating certain types of food make you crave other foods or keep you off other foods. I find I love chocolate, I love sugar, but if I have some carrots, that can stave off that need for chocolate or sugar. Another thing is having a protein and a carb, like having peanut butter on crackers can stave off wanting to reach for that bag of Halloween candy that's sitting on the shelf. And again, the fourth one is what we talked about before. We crave childhood foods, childhood favorites, and that is totally normal. And sometimes we start craving the seasonal food. My daughter always goes for the pumpkin spice everything in the fall, and that's when she eats it. Like, that's when she'll cut up an apple and put cinnamon sugar on it and put it in the microwave. And it's like having an apple pie filling, and she'll put it in her oatmeal. Different things like that you start to crave seasonally. And it's good to eat seasonal food. And around here, it's apple time, so enjoy. But your body knows what you need. And if it lacks certain nutrition, it's going to crave those nutritional things. So you need to also listen to your body. That's very important. Your physical health is important too. It's important to increase movement and physical activity, especially as the fall is coming. There's less light out. We're in our house more. One thing I ask people to do is practice their balance exercises. So if you're at the sink rinsing out a dish, put one foot up, stay on one foot. Use those balance muscles, those muscles that don't work. You know, they're very subtle when we're walking around and we're doing things, but you need to make sure they're strong so you don't fall and end up in the hospital. Still, people over 65, the number one reason that they're in emergency rooms is because of a fall. So you can avoid that by using your balance and trying balance exercises. And obviously when you're out doing physical activity, walking perhaps, you want to make sure that you are putting on a mask or you have a mask available. If you're out in a park and there's nobody else there, you can take the mask off and walk, but there's other people around, you want to put the mask on. So you carry it with you in your pocket so that you have that ready to go. Also, you want to maintain a 6-foot distance from other people. And wash your hands. I tell people every time you come in the house, wash your hands so you don't realize the things you've touched. Another important thing with the exercise is to remember stretching and static exercises are important too. So when I say stretching, I mean lifting your arms up in the air and holding them for a count of 8, bringing them down to the sides and a count of 8. That's very important. It gets blood flow to your muscles. It makes your body feel better. And generally, you'll be able to do more and you'll have more flexibility. You can do strength training in your own home without a gym, without weights, using your body as that weight. Doing squats is one example. Doing sit-ups is another example. Doing leg lifts is another example. All those things, use your own body weight. And you can also use household items. You want to do some exercises with your arms, you get 2 bottles of water and start lifting to build up your biceps, to build up your shoulders above your head. You can use cans of vegetables. You can use detergent bottles. You can do whatever works for you. And you don't necessarily have to spend money on it. Another important aspect during the COVID pandemic is sleep. Everybody that I know has been having sleep disturbances through the last 8 months. And it's because our whole system, our whole idea of what your day is going to look like has kind of gotten confused because people are working at home. So suddenly they're not getting up and they're not going to the office. Some people are on the computer all day, and some people feel like they have to work all day because their computer's at home with them. Other people have anxieties about what's going on and what the future might hold. And so that's waking them up at night. And so the best advice I can give is to have really good sleep hygiene. So turn off your electronics, your phone, your TV, your Kindle. Turn it off 1 hour before bedtime. Make sure your room is dark and quiet and cool. Your body sleeps much better in a cool room than in a warm room. You keep your bedroom for sleep only, not for work. Have a consistent schedule. So when I talked about exercise, one really good thing to keep you going with exercise is to have it at the same time every day. Every morning I wake up at 5:30. I do a half an hour calisthenics. I go out for a walk at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And then if I do that every day, my body gets used to it. It's a habit, but it's a good habit. So if you can get yourself to do that same habit for about 2 weeks, you'll see how it just works right into your life. And make it like it's an appointment with yourself. You say, oh, I'm too busy to exercise. Well, make yourself an appointment. Make yourself more important than other things that need to get done. I need to take care of myself so I can do all those other things. And make sure for sleep that you're exercising during the daytime. If you exercise in the evening, a lot of times you can build up a lot of chemicals in your body that get you up, and then you're a little hyper before bed, and the whole point is to calm down before you go to bed. And drink liquid up to 2 hours before bedtime, and then no liquid after that, or you'll be waking up in the middle of the night. Try to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Some people do not sleep 6 to 8 hours a night, and that's just how their body rhythm works. But for most of us, try for 6 to 8. We also have to be aware of our mental health at home. And I always tell people this who are struggling with anxiety or depression, or they're hooked on the news, to start some at-home projects. One thing I did was I'm working on knitting a blanket for my daughter for Christmas. And what I'm doing is a pattern I've never done before, and it's keeping me busy. And when I'm done with it, I will have started and finished the project and felt like I completed something. It's very important to have little projects around the house that you can complete. Even if it's as simple as, okay, I'm going to pull all these books off the bookshelf, clean up the bookshelf, and put all the books back. You have done something. And that something will make you more likely that you can do a bigger thing if you want to. And it will keep your mind busy and not thinking about what could be, or, the troubles of the world. And try new things. Some things that you could try it could be as simple as, when you go out for a walk, go out to different places. Try different trails. Try going to different places in the state just to walk. Places that aren't crowded, apparently. We don't want to be around other people, but explore your world a little more. You could also try new things like learn a new language. You could, and I'll have a list of them in just a minute. And also, if you think you need help, it's important to get help. And when I say help, I don't mean, oh my goodness, I think I need, a psychiatrist because I'm just losing my mind. Yes, you should get help in that respect also. But even if you're having some anxiety and it's keeping you up at night and it's changing your mood, it might be important to talk to somebody. And you can get a lot of resources through 211. Pick up the phone, just dial 211, or go on the computer and write in 211. And it will help you find the resources that you need, whether it's mental health or physical health, or help with getting groceries, or you're quarantined and you need help with your rent. How do I do that? I need social services. 211 can help you find those resources. There's also a phone number for Reach Out New Haven, which is not a crisis line as much as it's a warm line. Obviously, if somebody called with a crisis, they would get help for them. But for those people who have just some anxiety, just some problems getting on, it's a way that you can get help. The phone number is 203-287-2460. So I'm constantly telling people to limit their media exposure to at least a couple times a day, if not, go on a hiatus from the news for a couple days. When you're talking about medical facts and you hear different things from different people on the news, in the media, on social media, listen to your own doctor. Your doctor knows better than they do about how these things can affect you. And Be wary of taking these news stories as a resource. I'll give you an example. So a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, there came out a study that, oh my goodness, people who wear a gaiter, which is the thing that you can put around your neck and put it over your nose, or who wear a bandana, it's not as safe as wearing a mask, and sometimes could be worse than wearing nothing. That was the news I heard. Well, the news picked up on this study. It turned out this study was a graduate student study. It wasn't a large study. It was just a couple people. There wasn't really a lot of science behind it. And suddenly, like, it was all over the news. And you need credible facts, not something that's sensationalized. So the best information you can get is from your local health officials at the health department or the state health department, the CDC, the NIH. You have to listen to the people who actually understand the science. And keep to sources that you know what's happening now, but not what's gonna be. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what's gonna happen. There are people who say coronavirus, COVID-19, it's all false. There's no such thing. It's a hoax. Well, I can tell you as a former scientist and a health educator, that's not true. There actually is a virus. And you need to protect yourself. And people are saying, oh, it's all going to go away because flu season's starting and then flu will take over for COVID. Well, that's not true either. Or I don't need to get a flu shot because COVID's here and there'll be no flu out there. Well, that's not true either. So people speculate about when things are going to happen and how they're going to happen, but nobody really knows. You know, we go with the best science we have and we say, what's true right now? So when I talked about learning a new skill, I talked about you could do knitting. You could learn to speak a different language. You could learn to speak Mandarin. You can go and do an online course or get a book from the library. You could do history, philosophy, astrophysics. You could learn a lot of stuff from books, from online courses. There are master courses out there. There are things that are free, things you have to pay for. Doesn't matter. You can learn. You can spend time improving your brain during this time period. You can set goals for yourself, like the hiking I talked about. Say, I'm going to hike every trail in my town. Go to the Land Trust website, look at all the trails, make a list, and as you do them, check them off. Setting goals and completing goals is like such magic for your mood. You learn to really appreciate beginning and end of projects. Or you could start writing every day. Write about an autobiography about who you are, your past. Or you could write a fiction story that comes out of your own imagination. It's important to be mindful of others. And it all boils down to common sense and thinking of yourself as well as others. So like wearing the mask. Oh, wearing a mask is a pain. But you are protecting other people from the droplets coming out of your mouth. And if we all protect each other, we stay as a safer community. The other thing is check in on other people. Do you know people who live alone, who don't have as many social contacts? Call them up. Find out how they're doing. Find out if they need anything. And be kind to everybody. Not everyone believes the same things you believe, but we can at least respect each other and respect each other's views. I respect that every single person who is watching this right now has their own beliefs and has their own person who can say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I believe, this is what I don't believe, and I will listen to other people no matter what background they come from. Also, make plans for the future. This pandemic is not going to last forever. It's, it's now. Excuse me. It's going on now. But in another year and a half, it'll probably be on the wane. And I said, don't listen to things about the future. But we have to have belief and we have to have faith that we will come out of this in the end. So one of the last things I want to talk to you about is, why do seniors seem to adapt so well? There's been several studies now saying seniors have adapted to this pandemic so much better than middle-aged people or younger people. And these are some of the reasons why. Seniors generally accept inevitable changes that occur over time. They develop an appreciation for the good that remains in their lives. They have most of them have fewer work-family conflicts and conflicts that involve younger children. And their perspective is different. Difficult times will come and go. And a lot of these people who are older have lived, some of them lived through the Depression. Some of them have lived through World War II. Some of them lived through racial riots in the 60s. A lot of them understand that these times come and go in their lives. And they draw upon those past experiences to stay resilient for the future. Quarantining for older adults is very similar to when somebody retires, because suddenly you're at home. So you have to come up with your own schedule. And older adults already have those capabilities of making those changes in their lives where they have to not be as social, not have so much of a schedule every day, and create a new schedule. And many older people there and elsewhere already have mastered the timeless ideal of accepting what's going on with grace. And remember that laughter is the best medicine. This is just a shot of Tim Conway and Harvey Korman from the Carol Burnett Show with the dentist skit. Many of you have seen it. If you haven't, you can go on YouTube. Find some funny YouTube videos that make you laugh. And really, on those days where things are difficult, make time to laugh. Make time to find, if there's a comedian you love, if there's a funny movie you love, to watch those things and let your body just relax and laugh. And finally, just the prevention guidelines: wear a mask, socially distance 6 feet apart from people, especially when you're inside. Avoid touching your face, keep washing your hands, cough or sneeze into your elbow. And when you're walking and there are other people on the street, walk on the other side of the street if you don't want to be around other people, if you want to keep that social distance. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can always call the East Shore District Health Department at 203-481-4233. You can ask for Barbara, and I'll talk to you. I'll help you find resources. You can go to our website, www.esdhd.org, and we have a lot of information on COVID-19, all the changes that are happening in the state, all the changes that are happening with what we know. So I thank you and have a great day.